Hey everyone, ready to dive into a really interesting topic in the AI world today?
Always ready. What do we have today?
Well, everyone's talking about AI stocks right now,
Hmm.
and especially how they could potentially boom in 2025.
Absolutely. Seems like it's all over the news.
Exactly. So this Motley Fool article is making a pretty interesting claim. They say that while everyone's rushing to buy up Nvidia, um,
Oh, yeah. Nvidia, definitely the hot stock.
for sure, but they think there might be another company that's a bit of a hidden gem, one that's poised to maybe even explode.
Oh, wow. Okay. So who are they talking about?
AMD.
AMD. Huh. That's interesting because their stock has actually been down, hasn't it? Like almost 20% over the past year.
Yeah, and that's what makes this whole thing so intriguing. The article even has this chart. It shows, like how AMD is performing compared to other big semiconductor companies, and this ETF, the VanEck Semiconductor ETF.
Right. The one that kind of tracks the whole sector.
Exactly. And basically, everyone else is up, the ETF is up, lots of individual stocks are up.
But AMD is down.
Yeah, AMD is the outlier here, and not in a good way. So it makes you wonder, right, what's going on?
Yeah, what's the deal with that? Because you'd think with all this AI hype, they'd be doing better.
I know, right? Especially when you look at what the article says about AMD's data center business.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
So everyone is kind of obsessed with Nvidia, right? I mean, their growth has been pretty amazing, close to triple digits.
Yeah, for sure. But what about AMD? Are they even in the data center game?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And this is the crazy part. Their data center operation, get this, it's growing almost the exact same rate as Nvidia's, around 122% year over year. So that's the big question. Why isn't AMD's stock price reflecting this growth?
Hmm. Okay, so something doesn't quite add up here.
Exactly. The article suggests that maybe the market hasn't really caught on yet. They're not fully understanding the potential here with AMD's data center growth. And then they bring up AMD's PEG ratio.
PEG ratio. Remind me what that is again?
Yeah, so it's basically a way to kind of measure a company's value, like how much it's worth, but relative to how fast its earnings are growing.
Right, right. And what is AMD's PEG ratio?
It's only zero point 0.3.
0.3. Wow, that's incredibly low.
Yeah, and usually a low PEG ratio means that a stock might be undervalued by the market.
Interesting. So we have AMD, this company with huge growth in a super important sector, data centers, but the market doesn't seem to be paying attention. It's almost like a hidden discount.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, so that kind of sets the stage for where things are right now. But the really exciting stuff, well, that's when we start looking ahead, especially to 2025.
Oh, okay. So what does the article say about 2025?
Well, the article makes a really compelling argument that 2025 could be a turning point for AMD.
Okay, I'm all ears. Why is that?
Well, Nvidia is supposed to release their brand new Blackwell GPU in 2025. And like everyone is expecting it to be huge GE.
I bet a new GPU from Nvidia definitely going to create a lot of buzz.
Exactly. But there's a potential problem. They might not be able to make enough to meet demand. There could be a real shortage of these Blackwell GPUs.
Oh, wow. So that's where AMD could step in.
Exactly. If companies can't get enough of NVIDIA's chips, maybe they'll start looking at AMD as a real alternative.
Especially since AMD is often more affordable, right?
Right. They could often compete on price. That's definitely a factor.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this could play out. But is AMD just waiting for Nvidia to mess up, or are they making their own moves?
Oh, no, they're not just sitting around waiting. They've been doing a lot to make inroads with some really big players. For example, Oracle, Microsoft, even Meta. They've all started using AMD's MI300 accelerators in their data centers.
Wow, those are some serious names in the tech world.
I know, and those MI300s, they're powerful chips, specifically made for AI and all that high-performance computing stuff.
So it sounds like big companies are starting to realize they don't have to just rely on Nvidia, that there are other options out there.
Yeah, they're starting to diversify, and that's a really good sign for AMD. And they're not stopping there either.
Oh, what else are they doing?
They've got a whole lineup of new chips planned to come out throughout 2025 and 2026.
Yeah.
It's like they're not just riding this AI wave, they're really trying to position themselves to be a major player.
Okay, so it sounds like AMD has a lot of potential, but I'm still curious about the specifics. Like, what's driving their data center growth? And what are they doing that's different from Nvidia besides price?
Those are really great questions. To get a better understanding of what's going on with AMD, we need to dig a little deeper into the world of data centers themselves.
Okay, let's do it. What makes AMD so attractive to companies like Oracle and Microsoft? What's so special about their technology?
Well, one of the things AMD is really focused on is something called heterogeneous computing.
Heterogeneous computing. That sounds complicated.
It's actually not as complex as it sounds. Basically, it means combining different types of processing units like CPUs and GPUs on the same chip.
Oh, okay. So instead of having separate chips for everything, it's all kind of integrated together.
Exactly. It's like having a toolbox with all these different tools that are specialized for specific tasks.
Yeah.
And when it comes to AI workloads, this can be incredibly efficient because AI often needs a mix of processing power.
Makes sense. So it's not just about having like raw power, it's about having the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's cool. But how does AMD's technology actually stack up against NVIDIA's in terms of like pure performance? Because, I mean, NVIDIA is known for their high-end GPUs.
Yeah, Nvidia definitely has a really strong reputation when it comes to high-performance computing.
Right.
But AMD is catching up. Their latest MI300 accelerators, the ones we were talking about, they're getting some really positive reviews. They're designed for those super demanding AI and machine learning tasks. And the early benchmarks, they're suggesting that they can compete with NVIDIA's top-of-the-line offerings.
Oh, wow. So AMD's becoming like a real contender. I mean, they're not just some budget alternative anymore.
The article also mentions something about AMD being more open than NVIDIA. What does that even mean in this context?
That's another area where AMD is really trying to set themselves apart.
Okay.
So they're more open to working with different partners and customizing their solutions so that they fit very specific needs. NVIDIA, on the other hand, tends to be a little bit more closed off. They like to keep things within their own ecosystem.
Got it.
So that flexibility that AMD offers, it can be a huge advantage for companies that have some unique requirements or want more control over their hardware and software.
So it sounds like AMD is kind of positioning themselves as the more collaborative and adaptable choice, which is pretty smart.
It is.
But of course, there are always risks, right? What are some of the potential challenges that AMD could run into?
Oh, yeah, there are definitely some risks. I mean, one possibility is that NVIDIA could just ramp up their production way faster than anyone expects. That potential supply shortage we were talking about. Well, it might not be as big of a problem if NVIDIA figures out how to make more chips quickly.
Yeah, that would definitely throw a wrench in things.
Another risk is that the overall demand for AI chips could slow down.
Oh, that's true.
And that would obviously affect both NVIDIA and AMD. And then there's always the chance that some brand new competitor could come out of nowhere and disrupt the entire market.
So it's not like a guaranteed win for AMD. They have a lot of potential, that's for sure. But there are also some hurdles they have to overcome.
Definitely.
So going back to our listener's original question, do you think that AMD is a stock worth exploring?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
Based on everything we've talked about, I think AMD has a lot going for it.
Okay.
I mean, they're growing really fast in a market that's only going to get bigger. They're developing cutting-edge technology, and they're presenting themselves as a real alternative to NVIDIA.
Right.
But as with any investment, it's always so important to do your own research, think about your risk tolerance, and maybe even talk to a financial advisor. It's never a bad idea to get a second opinion.
Absolutely. This deep dive is just a starting point, right? It's like we're just highlighting some of the key things that stood out to us from that Motley Fool article.
Right.
But it's really important to go deeper and do your own research. That's how you'll be able to form your own conclusions.
Exactly. Investing is about understanding the bigger picture, looking beyond just the hype, and considering all those different factors that could influence how a company performs.
Speaking of the bigger picture, let's zoom out for a second and think about the broader implications of all this. We've been focusing a lot on AMD and Nvidia, but the AI chip market, it's way bigger than just these two companies.
That's a great point. And the AI chip market, well, it's projected to grow like crazy over the next few years. I mean, it's being driven by all these advancements in AI and machine learning and high-performance computing, and it's affecting almost every industry you can think of.
So even if AMD doesn't end up becoming like the dominant player, the fact that the entire AI chip market is growing so much, well, it means there are going to be lots of opportunities for investors.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like the early days of the internet,
Yeah.
Everyone knew it was going to be huge, but it was really hard to say exactly which companies were going to come out on top.
And just like with the internet, this whole AI revolution is creating winners and losers. The companies that can adapt, the ones that innovate and really meet the needs of businesses and consumers, those are the ones that are going to thrive.
And that's what makes it so exciting to follow this industry. There's so much potential for change and innovation, and it's all happening so fast.
It really is like watching a science fiction movie come to life. And speaking of science fiction, it's hard not to think about all the different ways that AI could be used in the future.
Definitely.
It's not just about data centers and GPUs anymore. It's about changing the way we live and work and how we interact with everything around us. I know it's pretty amazing to think about all the possibilities. Self-driving cars, personalized medicine, who knows what else. It feels like AI could change everything.
And AMD, with how they're focusing on that high-performance computing and working with so many partners, they could be a big part of making all of that happen. It's not just about making money at that point. It's about pushing the limits and creating something that everyone can benefit from.
That's a really good point. It makes you think about investing in a whole new way. It's
Right.
not just about profits. It's also about supporting those companies that are trying to do something good for the world, something that has a positive impact.
Exactly. So as you learn more about AMD and this whole AI boom, think about this. What kind of future do you want to see AI create? Could AMD be a part of making that future happen?
It really takes the conversation to a whole new level.
Mhm.
We started out talking about whether a stock could take off, and now we're talking about the future and the impact of technology on society.
It's amazing how knowledge can do that. It opens up new ways of thinking and helps us see things we might have missed before. And hopefully it helps us make better decisions, whether it's about our investments or just our lives in general.
Well said. Well, I think that wraps up our deep dive for today. Hopefully you learned some new things, maybe even found a new company to keep an eye on. But more importantly, we hope you're feeling curious and inspired to explore the world of AI and what it could mean for all of us. Happy investing and keep exploring.